Yeah, I don't think they usually
We have a leash on team, so we have a quorum.
Okay, it's 5:30. We'll call the March 1st meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Call the roll, please.
Barnett, Bauman,
Here.
Demacus,
Yes.
Faken, Gates,
Here.
Hochhalter, Iverson,
Here.
Kibler. Leiter, Nestal,
Here.
Offerdall,
Here.
Sessions, Wagonist.
Yes.
All right, rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'll move on to approval of the February 1 meeting minutes.
Move to approve?
Motion by Commissioner Bauman to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Kibler, sorry. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Demacus,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hochhalter, Kibler,
Yes.
Leiter, excuse me, Nestal,
Yes.
Offerdall,
Yes.
Wagonist.
Yes.
Motion carries. Meeting minutes are approved. All right, the first item on the agenda is variance that has been withdrawn, so there will be no hearing on that. We will move on to item number 6, which is a preliminary plat request, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Van Dyke for a quick summary.
Thank you, Chairman Dominguez, members of the commission. So item number 6 is a public hearing request on an application from Jacqueline Ortega and Louis Cortez, owners for a preliminary plat to subdivide 20 lots into 38 lots for the purpose of establishing individual ownership for each half of a twin home development. The proposed plat is to be known as Bolton Heights 12th Edition. The legal description of the property is lots 1 through 20 of Bolton Heights 11th Edition to the city of Minot, North Dakota. Property contains numerous addresses, including 3301 through 3433, along the south side of 20th Avenue Northwest and 1924 in the adjoining unaddressed lot located on the east side of 35th Street Northwest.
Thank you, sir. Plats fall under our abbreviated procedures, so we will not have staff report on that. We've all been provided it. So I'll open the public hearing on item number 6. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on behalf of this agenda item? Anybody who wishes to speak against item number 6? All right. Seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing. I'll turn over the commission for a motion.
Motion to approve based on staff finding of fact and recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Wagness to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Offerdall. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Was this the plat for which we got 2 late texts of people talking against it?
I don't believe so. There were no
just one.
comments. Were there any comments on this, Mr. Van Dyke?
Just the one, yeah.
Yes, so there was one comment. It was the same comment that was copy pasted from the same adjoining property owner with regard to the rezone when it went through. So it had recently been rezoned from R1 to R2. And it was just in opposition to twin home development. It's already been rezoned and entitled to develop twin homes, and some of those twin homes are actually actively being constructed. This would just allow the subdivision or the developer to sell off each half of the twin home for individual ownership.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none then, we will call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Demacus,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Nestal,
Yes.
Offerdall,
Yes.
Wagonist.
Yes.
Motion carries. Takes us on to item number 7, which is another preliminary plat request. Mr. Van Dyke, if you would please give us a quick
Thank
summary.
you, Chairman Demakis, members of the commission. It's a public hearing request on an application from Moore Engineering, representing Steve Larson, owner for a major subdivision preliminary plat to subdivide an unplatted portion of land into 2 lots. The subdivision is to be known as Larson's subdivision. The property is legally known as the southeast quarter of Section 30, Township 156 North, Range 82 West, Ward County, North Dakota. The address for the property is 2281 62nd Avenue, Northeast.
Thank you, sir. With that, then, we will open the public hearing on agenda item number 7. If there's anybody present who wishes to speak on or against item number 7. All right. Seeing none, then, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Commissioner Offerdahl to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion, or second by Commissioner Nestle. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Jemakis,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Nestle,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Wagoness.
Yes.
Motion carries. On to, excuse me, item number 8. It's a zoning and future land use and map amendments. It's a request on an application from Melissa Wright, representing Harmony Heights LLC and ORMA LLC, for a zoning map amendment from M1 Light Industrial to CBD Central Business District, and a future land use map amendment from industrial to downtown mixed use, for purposes of qualifying for a facade improvement grant, which is limited to those properties in the Central Business District. The legal description for the properties are Lot 1, Baker's rearrangement of a portion of lots 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12, Block 30, first addition to the city of Minot, and Lot 2, Baker's rearrangement of a portion of lots 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12, Block 30, first addition to the city of Minot, street addressed as number 12, 3rd Street Southeast and 212 East Central Avenue. So with that, we'll turn over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Chairman Demakis, members of the commission. So the property is located near the intersection of East Central Avenue and 3rd Street Southeast. The white line would be bounding the 2 properties, and then the pink line is going to be our notification area. The existing zoning for the properties is M1. The area includes primarily M1 and Central Business District zoned properties. The future land use designation is industrial, and as part of the request, the future land use designation would be changed to downtown mixed use. One of the properties is Arnie's 2.0. The primary purpose behind the rezoning request, as Chairman Demakis mentioned, is to apply and participate in the city's facade improvement program to improve the building's exterior. This is the other building located on the other lot. I would also like to participate in the program if possible, if approved. Here are the findings of fact. In short, the 4 criteria are met, and the Planning Commission has the authority to hear the case and make a recommendation to City Council. And staff is recommending approval without conditions. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. Any questions for the city? Mr. Bauman.
This is just me being curious. In reading the application, I was really excited to see the reference of a potential grocery store going in at that location. Is that just kind of hypothetical, or is that looking fairly possible?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Demakis, Commissioner Bauman. I'll defer to the applicant. I agree. So she is here to answer questions, so I can answer any others that might come about, and then if she's so willing to stand up to the podium when the public hearing's open, then that would be great.
Sounds good.
Any other questions for staff?
I have a
Yes,
second
sir.
one, I'm sorry. And this might be a Mr. Billingsley question. Knowing that the city is kind of in charge of administering the facade improvement program, I just want to make sure that this is something that they support and are excited to have another applicant come into the potential pool of applying for that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Baumann, yes, staff recommends approval of this rezone. We're planning on turning this neighborhood, the eastern part of our downtown, into a warehouse district with our new comprehensive plan update that we're working on this year. So when we do that, we're going to amend the future land use map for this neighborhood to go to central business district and get rid of the light industrial designation that's there now. I think it's more beneficial for the neighborhood. As you saw on the zoning map, there already are several properties in this neighborhood that have rezoned from M1 to CBD, and this is just another one. So staff is fully in support of this request, and it's in our long-term interest to change the future land use map to a central business district in this neighborhood of the downtown.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for staff? All right, thank you, sir. With that, we'll open the public hearing on this agenda item. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in regards to this application? Come on up and give us your name, please. Sign in on the sheet.
My name is Melissa Wright. I am the owner of Varney's 2.0, 12 3rd Street, Southeast Minot, and I've just purchased the building, or purchasing the building of 212 Central. And as far as a grocery store, no, that is not probably what will happen there. We're more looking at doing a restaurant bar / setting because our liquor license will actually transfer over to 212 because the buildings are physically connected. And so there's also 4 apartments upstairs that we are going to refurbish and make them for downtown apartments. We're going to gut them and make them nice for either Airbnb rentals or I'm taking 2 of the apartments for myself to make a downtown apartment, but the other 2 will be made into rentals. So,
Thanks.
any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yeah,
can.
Commissioner Little.
Wasn't the Harmony Center in the bottom of,
It is
one
in the
building?
bottom, yes, it is.
is it
And
remaining there?
It is not remaining there, no.
Federally funded.
It is federally funded, but it is very underutilized space, I believe. They pay $1,500 a month for 3,000 square feet, which is not what I can consider financial. I'm looking financially as an owner. I think another restaurant downtown would actually add to the value of what downtown is. And I just saw that KM News had put out a thing about how many people had been downtown during the Christmas and stuff. And I think that if we just build up downtown the way it needs to be, that we can draw all these people from different areas to Minot. So
And the thought is to turn that Harmony Center into a,
it will be a restaurant / bar or a bar / restaurant. I'm not really quite sure yet. I'm still contemplating on what's the best to do, to be honest.
have you seen the basement in that place?
I have. I love it and would love to turn it into a speakeasy. I've actually had a structural engineer in there, and it can be done, but there is a matter of money that is involved in the whole scenario. So we are just seeing what we can do with what we have.
Anything further? Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I will close public hearing. And turn over to commission. Is there a motion on this item?
I guess I'd move to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And a second from Commissioner Baumann. Any discussion?
Chairman Demakis,
Yes, sir.
if I could just chime in, can I clarify that the recommendation is based on staff's finding of fact?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Knappus,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Nestor,
Yes.
Alfano,
Yes.
Wagoner.
Yes. Excuse me.
Motion carries. Agenda number 9 is a zoning map amendment, PUD overlay on an application by Project B on behalf of the city of Minot for a zoning map amendment from C2 General Commercial, excuse me, to C2 General Commercial and PUD overlay planned unit development. The purpose for the request surrounds a mix of housing for homeless and low to moderate income families, commercial restaurant, office space, and space for congregate meals. The legal description for the property is outlots 4, 6, and 7 of the southwest quarter, less parcel 1-7A of section 25, township 155 north, range 83 west. Property is located in 1901 South Broadway. So that will turn over for a staff report.
Thank you, Chairman Dominguez, members of the commission. All right, the subject property is located on the southeast corner of South Broadway and 19th Avenue Southwest. The existing zoning is C2. Nearby zoning would be R3B to the north and R1 further to the east. Just keep in mind when you're looking at this zoning district, as I present the residential buildings, they will be adjacent to residential zoning districts. So just that'll be part of the context of, as I'm explaining their proposal. So the future land use map designates this property as commercial. And I'll dive right into the site plan. So the site provides for 3 buildings. The 2 buildings that you might see on the south and east of the property, the ones from the aerial, those are gone. So those have been demoed. What exists is just the commercial restaurant. So the proposal would expand this site. The site provides 3 buildings. The existing commercial building will be remodeled to allow continued use of the commercial restaurant, as some of that activity has already been underway. Office space would be included in a food pantry, an area to serve congregate meals. So building B, that's the one furthest to the east, will be used as a family shelter, provide 6 units for families. Building C will provide 17 housing units for low to moderate income families. The site does provide a playground, and the site is requesting a relaxation of the number of parking stalls. Given the nature of the development, a transit stop is being provided to compensate for the reduction in parking. That's to the west. It's kind of dark and along the sidewalk along Broadway. This is logical, as some of the residents and or visitors to the site are more likely to depend on public transit than a personally owned vehicle, and staff finds this design appropriate. So here's some of the elevations. This is building A, so this is the commercial building. Move on to building, here's building A rendering. So this is the rear. This is a perspective looking from the northeast. So the Lord's covered is going to be in there. And then building A rendering 2. So this is, again, the commercial office space or commercial space. Perspective looking from the northwest. Here's building B elevations. Again, this is the family homeless shelter. Looking from the north and south. So if you were standing in front of it, the west elevation is what you'd be looking at. Again, this is the family homeless shelter. Some renderings, what that'll look like upon completion if approved. Moving on to building C. So the north elevation at the bottom of this one is what you'd be looking at if you're looking at the front of the structure. And then here's a rendering of the playground that'll be constructed for the residents on site. So as far as alignment with the comprehensive plan, there's land use goal number 1 and number 3. So number 1 would be promote a well-planned community with a balance of land uses while addressing the needs and impacts of expanding services to support growth through development and redevelopment, and coordinate transportation with land use planning. Housing goals number 1, 2, policy 4, and number 3, policy 3. I'm just gonna, they're included in the written staff reports. I'm not gonna read them to you, but certainly hits on several housing goals, especially housing goal number 3, policy 3, specifically focusing on provision of housing for the homeless. So here are the findings of fact. So the application is supported by numerous land use and housing goals and policies. The PUD will not create an excessive burden on parks, schools, or streets. Finally, the Planning Commission has the authority to hear the case and recommend the application be approved or denied. So staff is recommending approval subject to conditions. So I'll go over these. I'm gonna summarize them, not read them verbatim. But the approved PUD will include the overall layout, building uses, building design, landscape areas, parking, et cetera, that was provided within the application submittal. So they'll be held to what was provided and presented tonight. Number 2 would be an easement will be required for the transit stop so that the city of Minot can provide long-term maintenance. So number 3 and 4 outline who is responsible for what improvements related to the transit stop. The city of Minot will provide the shelter, it's the physical shelter, and physical transit shelter, to be clear. And the applicant will improve the site to accommodate the transit stop, so including the concrete pad. Number 5 and 6 will tweak the parking space sizing to accommodate high turnover traffic related to food services, and they also include some other adjustments to optimize the functionality of the parking lot. And numbers 7 through 11 are additional development requirements to align with the city's standards and processes. These are pretty typical that we would include some of these. So I will stand for questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. Any questions for staff?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Any chance you just want to touch base on the public comment that we received here this afternoon?
No.
Or just put it on record, I guess?
Yeah, yep. So we did receive one comment in opposition to the zoning amendment to include a planned unit development overlay. I believe, in short, summarizing this is not agreeing that this was a proper site for this type of use. So, in summary, yeah.
Yep.
Hold on, Commissioner Kibler.
Mr. Chairman, so it's housing for homeless. Is it permanent housing for homeless or temporary housing for homeless?
So, Chairman Dominguez, Commissioner Kibler, it's my understanding that it would go up through 6 months, and I think the goal is to assist the families that are utilizing the service, but then move them on up through possibly getting them into the LMI housing because they've now got employment, there's more stability, things of that nature. So it's obviously, homeless shelters are not permanent housing by the nature of them, but if Liz was here to speak regarding the application, I think she can answer some more of the specifics. I can't speak on exactly how they intend to operate that, but that was my understanding through numerous discussions, that it was potentially up to 6 months.
Thank you. Commissioner Baumann.
First off, I'll turn on my mic. Then I'd like to just say thanks to all the staff who have worked with various departments in the city and with Project B in particular to make this project happen. I know that when Lutheran Social Services pulled out their funding for the support or their support for this project, it left the city on a bit of a hook with the money that had been specifically designated for a homeless shelter and LMI housing. So it's great to see that this has turned around and turned back into a viable project. So I really appreciate all of the work that all of our city staff have done to make sure that A, we can provide this, and B, we can maximize these federal funds moving forward. Just some questions about abutting properties. And typically, if we were to put a zoning type, if this were a rezone, for example, and we were to put people living on this particular site, we would have some buffer requirements between that and a more intensive zoning area, such as the C2 on both sides of it. I know on the south side, those trees are there, and that kind of provides the buffering. But I know on the east side of the property, which would be the parking lot for the U-Haul building, we don't have any buffering designed in there. I'm just kind of curious, is there room in the design to put any buffer tree landscaping in, or is that kind of just part of the PUD overlay? Or part of what we lose through the PUD overlay?
Thank you. Chairman DeMakis, Commissioner Bauman, I'm going to pull up the site plan real quick so we can look at a little bit more detail. There may in fact be a 20-foot buffer there, and this is not, of course, the landscaping plan. So I don't have the landscaping. I can't recall if there is landscaping along that eastern boundary or not. But the surefire, there is? No. Oh, okay, sorry.
Behind you.
Oh, hey. There we go. So maybe, Liz is here, so maybe she can speak to the landscaping layout when we open it for a public hearing. And if not, I can look at my computer at the original application and oh, I think Sam Solberg is on. Yeah.
Yes, excuse me. I'm Sam Solberg. I'm with Flowery Engineering. We are doing the civil design for this site. And along that east side of that property, it's fairly steep between the existing parking lot and the building. And being that that is a more intensive area, we do not have plans for a landscape buffer at this time. However, we do have landscape buffers on the north side of the building, being that it is residential across the street from there. And that's something we can look at this time. And also something that was brought up, I believe the plan is homeless shelter residents will be in the shelter building for 60 days is what that is planned for at this time. So.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification on that. I do have a second question, but I don't know if anyone has any other wrap-up comments, Mr. Van Dyke, or anything else.
I don't have any.
Okay.
You still have the floor.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. Second question, and this is more of a maybe a hypothetical question or something that we need to start thinking about now as a unit of government, just kind of thinking about people and flow of people. I love that we're putting more people, a higher density of people living adjacent to our main thoroughfares, corridors. It's great to see people living within a block of a major grocery store. I have a lot of concerns about the fact that not only are we putting additional housing right across the street from a grocery store and not providing a crosswalk for them, let alone putting an official transit stop there, and again, not providing a safe way for those individuals to cross probably the most major thoroughfare in our community. So I'm wondering, again, this may be a hypothetical question, but if planning or engineering would be able to speak a little bit to, are there things in works, kind of considering hoping to provide safe crossing for people to get to food and restaurants and potential employment places for this area?
Chairman DeMakis, Commissioner Bauman, I'm going to have to defer to Emily on exactly what crossings there might be on that at that particular location.
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner Bauman. With the recent completion not too long ago of our overall Broadway corridor study, that we looked at a lot of these things through here, and now as we start to implement some of those things, the South Broadway portion is our first focus, and that would be from that kind of 20th Avenue and south, which this is just a little bit removed from that. But we certainly would be looking at what we can do to make like 20th Avenue and Broadway intersection more pedestrian friendly. We wouldn't have any like mid-block crossings, but I think we would be looking at ways we can make it easier for a pedestrian to come down to the signal and safely cross. But that will be a very expensive project. We're getting it scheduled out with the DOT, but we're still 5, 10 plus years away.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's just exciting. I mean, I know Blue on Broadway opened with full occupancy, so clearly there's demand for LMI housing in our community, and it's exciting to see this also. Just want to make sure we're thinking 1 or 2 steps ahead. So, thanks.
Any other questions for staff? All right. With that, thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Please come forward. If you would be so kind as to give us your name.
Hey, I'm Liz Larson. I'm the Executive Director of Project B. I am pretty grateful for Great Parks District because I'm at my kid's basketball game right now. So I ran over. I just wanted to answer any questions about the programming side of things. So our emergency shelter is going to be 60 days or less. It's rapid rehousing. LMI, of course, is permanent housing. We'll have leases with those folks. But any questions, I just wanted to answer. You guys were talking, and I was listening, and I was like, oh, God, I better run.
Okay. Is there any questions from the commission for the applicant?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, hi, Robert Kibler. I'm wondering, is this co-ed shelter?
It is. So it is being built as the first area's family shelter, and actually, it might be the state's first family-specific shelter. So it's going to have, I don't know if you have the design plans up, but it is non-congregate shelter. So it's 6 apartments that are 2 and 3 bedrooms. They'll have locks on the doors, so you can have 2 moms and their kids, a single dad and 4 kids. It's also going to be pet-friendly because we do have people who have opposition to leaving their pets behind. So it will be co-ed. We have staff. We're going to have security cameras. It's going to have locked doors. We have 24/7 staffing just because people kind of suck sometimes, and I don't trust them to destroy the pretty building. So it will be co-ed because, again, family means a lot of different things, so we want to be able to accommodate all those folks. Until recently, there was nowhere in our community for like a mom and dad and kids or a single dad and kids, and that is where the idea for Broadway Circle came from. Back during the flood, there was huge gaps in services, and so this will be able to fill a lot of gaps.
Anything further for the applicant? All right.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right. Anybody else present who wishes to speak? And looking at the audience, I don't think there's anybody else here. So I'm going to close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission and ask for a motion on this agenda item.
I'll move to approve based on staff recommendations and finding of facts.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Bauman to approve based on findings of fact and recommendations. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kibler. Any discussion?
Chairman Demakis.
Yes.
I'm just going to use this moment to put a shameless plug for everyone who's watching out on the internet right now, and just a reminder for our community. A portion of the funding for this was provided by city funds through federal resilience dollars, but Project B is still doing a capital campaign to raise the remaining amount. And so there is a portion of responsibility that falls on the shoulders of this community to make sure homeless shelters are provided and housing is provided. So if that is something that is of interest to you, I encourage you to check out the Project B Facebook page and give if you're able.
All right.
Thank you.
Any discussion further? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Mackes,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Wagoness.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is in regards to some text amendments. So I think what I might do is just have Mr. Van Dyke give us a summary of what's up with number 10.
Perfect. Thank you, Chairman Dominguez. I have one prepared in case you're going to read all of that, so.
I did once already.
So the recent land development ordinance was adopted in April of 2021. There have been a few modifications since then to address signage and revise subdivision processes. But it's recognized that the land development ordinance is a living document. And as it is applied in practice, there are textual and grammatical errors, formatting errors, and other corrections that need to be made on an annual basis to ensure that the document remains relevant. So staff worked with the Zoning Ordinance Steering Committee, a meeting with them on December 8th in 2021 and January 12th, 2022. The ZOSC recommended unanimous approval of the amendments as presented in Exhibit 1 of your written staff report. There's 24 of them. I'm not going to go over all 24. I'm going to go over just a few just to kind of explain the format. So here's an example of some of the changes. Effectively, we've numbered all of the proposed changes, and then we also provided a purpose. So wanted to make it extremely clear on why we were proposing each and every change. So in this case, it could be as simple as the definition of boarding house, as lodging house, including the verbiage as boarding. So it just makes more sense to refer to, not add a secondary definition within another one. So here's a text change. This one would be related to non-conforming lots. In this case, expanding it to not just apply to lots that are structures that don't comply with setbacks, but also with density, lot size, or lot coverage. So this portion of the code most commonly applies to Minot's older housing stock that was developed much prior to current standards. And so there's a slew of housing that just does not comply. And I think most of you will recall the flat roof discussion that we had with regard to the variance. So this is just an example of it's a living document. When we identify something that seems to kind of provide a lot of hiccups at Planning Commission, we're happy to note it, and then on an annual basis, we'll get it corrected. The odds of this coming back before you a second time before we had a chance to change it, slim to none, I would hope. But nonetheless, we're proposing that that be amended, and that's just an example of that. It could be as simple as a relocation. So this was moved from general development principles, and it is related to non-conforming lots. So it makes sense that we would put it in non-conforming lots, right? So it's adding clarity to the document. It can always be made better. Here's one. Signs has been an ever-evolving discussion with our sign companies, and so we're happy to make sure that we have the clarity to understand what local businesses want and what the sign companies desire within reason. And so this one is just, we've been applying subdivision signs and apartment complex signage as project identification signs. However, it's not clear that that's exactly what this is meant for. But we also know that we have subdivision signage and apartment complex signs, and so previous code would have permitted them in some way, shape, or form. This just makes it clear what the path forward is for those types of uses, developments. So here's another example is last year processed a variance for a very small manufactured home park development, of which the lot was too small to accommodate a 36-foot wide circulator road, and they waived it down to 20 feet, engineering being they. At this given that there's existing manufactured home park designated properties of various sizes and various proposed intensities, it does make sense to leave it up to city engineering to ensure that the circulation patterns are, and the construction is safe and that the site can function as needed, rather than just specifying that every roadway within a manufactured home park be 36 feet without consideration of exactly how many units it's serving. So here's the findings of fact, and the Planning Commission has the authority to recommend it be approved or denied. And then I'll just state that, again, the ZOSC, the Zoning Ordinance Steering Committee, recommended unanimous approval of these adjustments. So staff is recommending Planning Commission adopt staff findings of fact and recommend approval as well. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Bauman.
Just wanted to say thanks to our planning staff. Being on the Zoning Ordinance Steering Committee, I got to watch the process go through 2 meetings. And personally, as someone who works leading an organization, I appreciate the attention to details and kind of a systemic version of kind of making note of those things and then coming back once a year to make changes and tweaks. And I like that some of our documents are a little bit more living documents and maybe reflect the times a little bit better than something that's passed and put on a shelf. So I just wanted to say thanks again, staff, for doing this. It's exciting to see and appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anything further for staff from the commission? All right. Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. So with that, we'll open the public hearing on the text amendments. If there's anybody who wishes to speak on that, please come forward. Okay, seeing none then. I will close public hearing and turn it over to commission for a motion on this agenda item.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Rowan to approve. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second from Commissioner Nestal. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call the roll.
Bauman?
Yes.
Mack?
Yes.
Gates?
Yes.
Iverson?
Yes.
Kibler?
Yes.
Nestal?
Yes.
Offerdahl?
Yes.
Wagonis?
Yes. Very good. Motion carries. Any other business, Mr. Van Dyke?
Staff does not have any other business.
All right. Well, with that, then, we are adjourned. Thank you all.